Hello and welcome back to episode 29 of Heroic Stats, an Any Heroics podcast. My name is, of course, Stephen. I'm joined today by the lovely John and Dave, as usual. If you don't know who we are, then you really should. We are the members of Any Heroics, plus Dave, where we are the only GBHL team to select their captain based on the number of nipple piercings. We are here to talk about tournaments, the meta, a bit of hobby stuff, events of the past weekend, and just generally chat a lot of shit. First of all, how are we all doing?
Yeah, not bad. I've done zero hobby. Been busy with Lorcana tournaments.
We'll allow it.
That's not even a joke.
I've dug out all of the stuff out from underneath my bed at my parents'. No, not all the old porn mags. Those are all still safely kept there. But I brought that up to Bristol. I'm going to be selling a bunch of it, hopefully, to 7th City War Games. 7th City Collectibles, rather. Who are, of course, our lovely sponsor. Go there in Nottingham to buy and sell all your favourite wargaming collectible trading cards, paints, terrains, sceneries, get some food, just have a lovely time, meet the wonderful staff. A big shout out to 7th City Collectibles. Obviously, we're big fans, and that's why we're very happy to be affiliated with them.
I was at 7th City on Sunday playing Lorcana. Came second to the lovely Larry, who I'm sure many of our listeners will know from the tournament scene.
Yeah. I hopefully in the next couple of weeks will make a trip up there either on a train or by car to trade in a bunch of my old 40k stuff. Definitely for money, which I'm going to use for savings. I swear, not for store credit.
I think you get 20% extra if you get store credit.
My old, I guess we now call it old world stuff. It's just not. I'm never going to use. I'll keep my ogre army because I have sentimental attachment to that, and it's also mostly finished. But my Tomb Kings and stuff probably aren't ever going to get played, so get rid of them.
Yeah, the uses for those are quite limited. It's all ogre now.
I've also got a bunch of K that needs chopping as well, but it's all like mishmash garbage. Hopefully they'll want mishmash garbage.
They buy everything.
You seem like an Astra Militarum / Imperial Guard fan, Dave. Am I on the money?
No, you're not. I'm allergic to large numbers of troops.
Oh, Harlequin.
That's why I played Ogre Kingdoms. No, I had Space Marines, but I never really got anywhere with any of them. I kept buying secondhand stuff, half-heartedly starting it, and then being like, "Nah, I can't be asked with this." So yeah, I'm sure I could. I could get rid of it. I'm sure they'll take it.
Before we turn into a 40k podcast, let's look at one of the weekend's events. It was To the King, a GBHL 80 ran by James Patterson of Battlefield Hobbies. I think they played more than 3 rounds. We don't have the exact numbers. 400 points.
It was 4 rounds.
4 rounds. I don't have the names of the most sporting or best painted.
I did send them to you.
Did you?
Yes.
In the email.
What a smooth operation.
No, I took a screenshot. We're professionals here. We're 29 episodes deep. The winner of Best Painted was Thomas Denny, and Most Sporting was Callum McDonald. And Thomas Denny had his lovely display board featured on your screens here. Helmsguard. There were quite a few Helmsguard at this tournament, which I did see someone bemoaning as like a sign of the meta that Helmsguard was very meta at this points level. And I'm like, that's good for certain.
It's okay. It's only got 1 hero.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy seems to have done all Royal Guard, which is probably valid. But I don't think it's actually that strong. He's still only 5'5".
Well, if it's the meta and there were 5 of them at the tournament, we should expect to see some in our podium places.
How many players were there?
I think 22 from memory. Of course, the very honourable and lovely Elliot Close did go, our very own Elliot, with his Helmsguard.
What a meta chaser.
I know, right? How dare he?
Scumbag.
Right, let's have a look at third place and second place from the tournament. On the first list on your screen is Fell Beings of Mirkwood. This list took third place. They've got 26 models, 5 bows. The Spider Queen leads a Bat Swarm, 3 Fell Wargs and 5 Orc Trackers. And Razgoosh, who must be the leader, leads 6 Orcs with Shield, 7 Orcs with Spear, 1 Orc with 2-handed weapon and 1 Orc with Shield and Spear. Our second place list was a pure Mordor list with Guritz, Master of Reserves, 3 Black Nuns, 3 Moranas with Shield and Spear, 3 Trackers. Grishnak with a Shield, leading 3 Nuns, 3 Morons with Shield and Spear, 2 Trackers, 1 Warg Rider. And finally, Gorbag with a Shield, leading 3 Nuns, 3 Morons with Shield and Spear, 3 Trackers, and 2 Orc Warriors with Shield. What do you think of these two lists?
Is Guritz the leader of that?
No, Gorbag's the leader.
Okay. That makes more sense.
It's
Yeah, I think Fell Beings, no banner, but I think Fell Beings makes sense. He's not fucked around with extra gear, and he's got a Bat Swarm over a banner, which I think is smart because, I mean, yeah, something like Helm Hammerhand is going to cry when you Bat Swarm Spider Queen his ass. Probably get one shot by that, so, or at least, yeah, decent chance of getting one shot by that. So yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, fight 6 on the Spider Queen is great. And other than that, Razgoosh is a solid hero. He's not like OP or strong, even particularly, but he is solid. D7 is nice, even with only 1 fate.
He's kind of we always sell him as Shagrat, but a bit worse.
He's just bad Shagrat, yeah.
Yeah. This was piloted by Miles Sage, the Fell Beings of Mirkwood list, and the Mordor list was Sonny Hunter.
Okay. I would say below sort of 550 is basically the only time when I think Fell Beings makes sense.
Yeah, it tapers off at the 550 mark because you get the Spider Queen, Razgoosh, and a Captain, and then beyond that point, you're not really adding much value.
I feel that above that point, you're better off allying a Spider Queen to Mordor.
Yeah, get some magic.
The army bonuses in Fell Beings aren't really that good.
Yeah.
They're okay. They're not actually that strong. Fell Beings is an okay list, but it sort of struggles because it doesn't have any of the really good bits like Moranans and Black Numenorians. And it doesn't have any like powerful combo pieces like a Shade. So
I'd like
really
to see
the only bonus is leading troops from the Spider Queen.
I'd like to see a few more spears in the pure Mordor list, because at the moment he's got 9 Black Nuns, 9 Moranans with Shield and Spear. So that's leaving Guritz, Grishnak, and Gorbag, who can do some decent chopping at 400 points without spear supports. He's got 2 Orc Warriors with Shield. I'd probably given them spears and moved them around.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the main thing with that list is it's like 9 might is actually a lot at 400. Like that's going to be outmighting most things, which means you can afford to be a bit might happy with your heroes if you want to kill stuff. Like for example, throwing Gorbag and Grishnak into 2 Royal Guard each, for example, and then striking with both of them and just saying like, all right, I'm just going to try and kill a couple of these guys. I mean, it's a bit of a waste of might, but like, it's definitely worth dropping a might to get a kill at 400 with those guys because it can swing the numbers pretty drastically in your favor.
Especially when you're starting off at 32 models, which is good for 400 points, definitely.
Like good.
Sounds like majoritively D6 as well, D6 and higher. Like that's actually pretty tough, pretty hard.
8 bows is nothing to sniff at as well. Especially when the things you're going to see at this points level are going to be there's going to be a lot of D4 maybe in Army of Lake Town or potentially Hunter Orcs.
They don't combo quite as well at 400, I would say.
No.
They get a bit better at 450. Hunter Orcs, yeah, I mean, Hunter Orcs would actually struggle with this just because they're not going to have the Warhorn at 400. They're not going to have the numbers to just overwhelm, and they end up getting punked by Black Numenorians.
Yeah, even Guritz can walk in and reliably kill 1 or 2 Hunter Orcs a turn because he's fight 4 and they're fight 3.
All right,
Or
should we have a look at
do I
our
like a
winning
shot?
list?
Because that's curious for you.
Yeah, moving on to the first place list, which is Mr. Thomas Rice with the Serpent Horde for Harad list. Now, he's actually taken a banner, which is why he won the event, clearly, because he has the ever-efficient and wonderful Suladan the Serpent Lord on Armored Horse. He's got 7 Haradrim Warriors with Spear, 7 with Spear and Bow, 1 Serpent Guard, and then he has a Mahud King all geared up on Camel with Shield and War Spear, and then 2 Mahud Raiders with War Spear, and 2 Half Trolls. 21 models total, with 7 bows. It's got a lot of hitting power. I'm looking at Suladan, the Mahud King, the Mahud Raiders, and 2 Half Trolls. I do apologise for that massive tapping on the microphone, whoever's doing that. That was quite loud.
We'll take it out in post. We won't take it out.
I'll take it out my post. It's got a lot of chopping power in this one. You don't care about terror on the Mahud line because obviously you've got the Mahud King. You've got Suladan who can reliably go in, combat off 2 models, kill 2 more for 4 models dead. The Mahud King, Impaler hits. Its strength 5 with +1 to wound is pretty nutty, as we all know. And the Raiders also have the Impaler hits, and Half Trolls at this points level, they're enough to take out most heroes. Looking at that Mordor list, for example, Grishnak's only fight 4, so he's going to have to strike to fight them.
Yeah.
And Guritz is fight 4 and stuck at fight 4.
So I actually think that the Half Trolls and Mahud Raiders aren't the smartest pick at 400 just because there's so many points. I think I'd rather have 8 Mahud there personally with blowpipes. Because Mahud, and then you have some Serpent Guard or something behind them. I think
that's definitely valid.
Also, notice he got 100% spears on his Harad. I assume that's just because the Harad comes spears, but I don't really know why you've got Haradrim with spears and then Haradrim with spears and bows. I think if you have changed if you upgrade those guys to 8 Mahud with blowpipe, you can put upgrade those warriors with spear to Serpent Guard, throw them behind them. You bump your models up by quite a bit, up to sort of 26. But I mean, clearly it's good. It's just, it's 1.
Yeah.
But I just think that, actually, to be fair, Half Trolls are kind of beefy. It's just, I don't know how much.
Yeah, they'll do work. Right, there was another tournament on this weekend, but unfortunately we didn't get the results for that 80. But congratulations to everyone who podiumed and got best painted and best sporting at that. We're going to move on to our main topic of conversation. We've been asked by the TOs for the Battle of Unnumbered Tears number 9, a GBHL 100 event, to do a bit of a pre-event special. The Golems Gamers did one as well, as did the Fantastic World Champion on his Patreon. So this event is at Sanctuary Gaming Centre in Sutton and Ashfield. It's taking place on the 19th and 20th of October. Tickets cost £50 and will go on sale at the 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 18th of July. So that will be tomorrow at 6 o'clock from when you hear this podcast. 6 games and it's 1,000 points with no allies. Legendary Legions are allowed. However, for reasons we'll come on to shortly, you probably wouldn't want to take them.
Yeah.
Most excitingly for this event, we're doing a giveaway. So once this episode goes live, to enter the giveaway, you need to make sure that you're able to go to the event that is in October in Sutton and Ashfield, and subscribe to the channel and comment down below saying I can go to Unnumbered Tears, and you will enter the giveaway. After 24 hours, just before tickets go live, we will reveal on the GBHL Facebook page the lucky winner who gets a free ticket to the event. So we mentioned about a couple of special rules that will mean you might not want to take Legendary Legions. But first, let's look at the scenarios and then what we think would be good without special rules, just at 1,000 points pure. So, Stephen, can you run us through the scenarios that have been taken out of contention and then how the remaining 12 will be picked?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Command the Battlefield, which is the Maelstrom scenario where the quarters give you points. Seize the prize, obviously prize in the middle. Recon, running off the board. Capture and Control, which I like to call Flippy Flips. Contest of Champions, and Clash by Moonlight. Now, the remaining 12 scenarios are going to be drawn from a single pool randomly. So you could get 2 Maelstrom scenarios and 2 Killing scenarios from the remainders. You could get 1 from each pool. It just depends how they draw them. No scenario will be played twice, however.
So an interesting conversation would be, what do we think is good at 1,000 points normally? And then what do we think is good at 1,000 points when you can't take allies or legendary legions? My kind of gut instinct and what we saw at Battle of Unnumbered Tears last year, which was 1,000 points, was we saw an awful lot of elf and dwarf allies with a few heroes sprinkled in the kind of high quality battle line super friends type of list.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the main thing, or is there other things that are good?
Good soup is the first thing on your list.
Yeah, the higher points you go, the less it matters how many numbers you have. You will see a lot of lists capping off about high 40s to low 50s for this event, I would predict, as we've seen in previous years, which means that your more expensive heroes, which tend to be the good heroes, and your more expensive troops are more likely to be seen. You also have there's a lot of just things like Thorin, King Under the Mountain, who's incredibly efficient in terms of his value and what you get out of his kits, allied in with things like Galadriel or Legolas, who are, again, Galadriel incredibly efficient for her points value. You get 18 warband slots, a very reliable leader for a non-contest tournament. There's no contest of champions.
Yeah.
And then Legolas, who's just
control gone.
Yeah. You get Legolas, who is very good at sniping, and then potentially something like Wargear for object-based scenarios or anything requiring vast amounts of movement.
Yeah, before
Wargear Galadriel is an obvious combo, especially if you want to opt into the Bird Blast tech. I would say that Magic is even better. Magic's always good, but Magic is even better at high points. So double or triple Wraith is still good, even though Wraiths sort of have an expiry limit. Just the fact that there's going to be way more big heroes around makes them just good.
So how does this change, considering it has to be pure factions? What gets better? What gets?
It bins off a lot of factions, doesn't it? Like, no one's going to run. I mean, you could run Radagast Alliance, but no one will, because it's just going to be like not. You can't really justify taking Eagles to this.
We're not going to see the Spider Queen, which is something that was was quite popular with evil alliances last year. If you're taking the Spider Queen, it means you're either taking it in the Felbings of Mirkwood Legendary Legion or the Dark Denizens of Mirkwood Pure List, and both are not going to be good at 1,000 points.
And the general list building rules are still the same. You want to kind of aim for that 50 model, late 40s, 50 model mark, a high quality battle line and some big heroes. So things like Erebor Reclaimed, I think we talked in our group chat, are pretty good. You can take 3 big heroes plus Biffa.
Yeah, basically.
There's a Rivendell, Lothlorien are obviously very good because you can suddenly afford to take the bigger heroes. There is, of course, the enemy magic, but we'll have a look at some magic stuff later.
Yeah. Should we move on to those special rules and talk about how the normal 1,000 point meta and even the normal pure meta might be a bit spicy for this event?
Yes.
Yeah.
So our first special rule that we get is steadfast determination. So we've got the verbatim text on here, but what it boils down to is, after all other attempts to resist a power, your general can roll at 1 dice. On a 6, the magical power has no effect. You can't spend might on it. And importantly, if they make this roll on a 6, they can't be targeted by any enemy magical powers for the rest of the turn. How relevant do we think this is?
It's not relevant at all. It's nice. It does encourage those bigger heroes. It does mean there could be those hilarious games where you're playing against something like Black Riders and they just start to try and nuke your hero, and you roll that 6 and you go, well, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is, last year it was all Heroes of Legend got this, and now it's only your general, but it doesn't have to be a Hero of Legend.
I don't think anybody should be building their list around this. You should remember
it's just a try and keep Magic from being completely overwhelming, which is reasonable for reasons that we'll see.
Yeah, and the second special rule in place is the Rings of Power. Dave, do you want to give us the Spark Notes version on what this rule actually means?
Essentially, if you take a pure list, not a legendary legion, so legendary legions are allowed, but they don't get this rule, which is why we think legendary legions won't be good. And that allows you to take for free either the one ring or, well, 2 pieces of named Wargear, essentially. Any named Wargear that belongs to a hero profile has been listed by the TOs, and you're allowed to give any of your heroes that piece of Wargear, including the one ring.
It's a total of
the elven rings, all the weapons, all sorts of things. I mean, a lot of these are going to be useless, but they're all there just for completeness sake, or if you want to be a meme lord.
It's a total of 49 pieces of Wargear plus the one ring, which is a lot. Yeah.
And
some of these are obvious standouts.
Has kindly put it in spreadsheet form for everybody, so you get a nice, easy cheat sheet. So this is half the items. This is the other half the items. Feel free to screenshot. I'll go back one more time.
This is the old version before I added Herogrim, because you forgot to add that. Also, Herogrim is trash and no one was going to use it.
And
we've also had some breaking news.
Yeah.
Yes. As of like 20 minutes ago, one of the TOs informed us that they're also going to allow you to take Shadowfax and Asphalloth, I should say, as optional pieces of upgraded Wargear, which...
But man-sized models only.
Man-sized models only, and you're going to be required to make a conversion to use it, which I think is a bit harsh. But I would say that I don't think that's going to actually change what's good.
No.
Unless I haven't had a real chance to think about this yet, so...
we're going to steal an idea from our great friends over at the Golems Gamers and make a tier list and do all the work for you.
Yeah, do go check out their video as well, because they have made a video. I did previously discuss with Elliot that we would link each other's videos. Their giveaway is going to be stopping at the same time that our video goes up. So maybe if you're watching this right this moment, you can go over and try and enter for one of their tickets. Similarly, go check out Will Champion's Patreon, and he's also doing a similar giveaway.
Try and win as many tickets as possible.
Yeah. So for the audio only listeners, our tiers are S tier, now you're cooking, A tier, pretty hot, B tier, situational, C is meme tier, and D is we have that at home. Generally, that's reserved for items where there's just a better version.
That's the tier for. Can we have this, please? Oh, honey, we've got that at home, and then you've got the knockoff own brand version.
The reason I suggested we have a tier for that specifically is because there are quite a few items here that are there just because they are, and they're literally like, they're not necessarily bad. It's just they are just objectively just worse versions of things that are already better on the list. So that tier is a slightly special tier. I wouldn't necessarily have even called it a D tier, because all it is like arguably, you know, for example, Barazantul is better than Riding Dagger, but Barazantul is worse than Durin's Axe, therefore it goes in the bottom tier, even though
So our first item up, Stephen, you might have to help us with some of these, but I'm guessing that is Anduril, Flame of the West.
Anduril?
Yes, if you are seeing a hero, it's probably a piece of that hero's Wargear, probably the most famous bit. So that's Anduril, Flame of the West.
Anduril, Flame of the West.
Now, first glance, I think people might put this in the now you're cooking tier. However, a lot of people forget that heroes are usually strength 4 anyway. So if you take another weapon, which is +1 to wound, you basically wound things on a 4-up anyway. Now, if suddenly everyone's taking the mithril coat options and armor of gondolins and whatnot, and going up to defense 9, defense 10, the value of this would increase. However, I think there are better versions of what you're trying to do here.
So I think Anduril, the main thing about Anduril, what it's great at is killing really tough nuts. That's what it's actually good at. It's great at making D9 and 10 heroes, which we may be seeing more of, because as we'll see later, it's going to be easier to get that very high defense. The other thing is it's elven made, and it gives you the option to go two-handed to get a 3+ to wound, which is actually like you're not going to do that when you're mulching troops, as you've already said, Denby. But when it comes to hitting heroes, there's nothing better for killing heroes. So this is probably it's a top tier piece of weaponry.
Yeah.
But I think it's I think it's probably one of the bottom S tier items though, because it is. So it's either top of A tier or bottom of S tier. The reason I say that is it has basically everything you want. If you combine it with the right hero, for example, a hero who already has 3 heroic combats, like Thorin King Under the Mountain, for example, giving him a lightsaber is pretty hot. Because you're saying like, all right, so this guy can you threaten anything, or you put it on a fight 7 hero like Boromir, someone who you can threaten jumping onto a hero and then potentially just one-shotting them, and they can't respond. For example, Boromir could even go two-handed without being too scared of the possibility that he might lose, and then just say, all right, I'll mic that up to a 6. Oh, I'm just going to chop your head off now. I think it's fine. But I think it's probably.
We'll start.
I think it's pretty hot. I think it's pretty hot. I think there are better options, and you are over investing on one specific aspect, which is wounding. But
let's compare. We'll leave it in pretty hot.
Fine, top of A tier for now. Then
move it.
Yeah.
What's this?
So next up is Aeglos,
which is the spear of Gilgalad.
So now, I think part of what makes this good for Gilgalad is this fight 9.
Yeah.
Without the fight 9, this is a lot less interesting. As we'll see, this is kind of probably worse than a lot of the other generic +1 weapons, although it is Elven made, which is a bonus, and it also has double feature as being a spear. So this is a straight upgrade for a lot of heroes. But also, we'll see later, there are better things.
It's not better than Anduril. This is situational, in my opinion.
I think it's probably top of B tier, which is hard for you to admit, I think.
It's better than all of the generic Elven made weapons on this list, but it is worse than quite a few of the outstanding ones.
Next up, we have the Arkenstone. So that's reroll fate.
Yeah, so I actually think this is kind of I think this is cooking, or at least pretty hot, because the thing that holds Thrall back from being a beast is that he only has 1 fate. Now, if you whack this on someone with 3 fate, let alone someone who also happens to have an Elven ring, I think that's pretty hot, because it gives you just immediate access to. If you're going to run a list that has 1 beefy hero, which I think this gives you access to being kind of reckless with your 1 beefy hero. So, for example, if you were using Elrond and you were like, right, I'm going to Rivendell and Elrond's going to be my only big hero, I'm going to spam out troops and take the small heroes. Elrond is like a real centerpiece, and he is not like he's kind of vulnerable. So you whack the Arkenstone on him, even if they jump him, it's like, all right, with rerollable fate and a 3+ fate save or 4+ that he just keeps it. That's actually really hard to stop, to just actually crack. So I think that's. I don't think it's top tier. Probably it's probably A tier. I reckon.
Put it up in A tier.
Disagrees with that.
No, I think it's good, but you're kind of a bit limited on who you put it on.
Yeah.
Like on Elrond, Galadriel, or Gandalf.
Was that the armor of Gondolin?
Yes, that is the armor of Gondolin. That is the best artwork of Glorfindel that I could find, unfortunately. The movie version of him looks very dorky. So, armor of Gondolin is +2 defense, and also you can't be targeted by enemy monster brutal power attacks. Honestly, I think that it is just we have that at home tier, because not being rendered. Is that the thing we're looking at?
This is either meme tier or bottom of situational. The reasoning I'm saying that is because it's heavy armor. It's not +2 defense. That's different.
Right. Okay. Sorry. So you can also combo this if you really want to.
Yeah. If I'm honest, I think this is meme tier, but it's not. It's not. We have this at home.
Yeah. Okay. But you can make, for instance, Gullivar defense 10.
Yes, which is very funny, but also not efficient.
Yeah,
As
don't
we'll
do
discuss
it.
in a bit, I think you can do a lot of crazy stuff with this, but you're kind of wasting your opportunity if you are. For example, this next item, Armor of the Sundered Land, which is a Knight of Umbar special. That means ring wraiths don't lose will for winning a combat.
Not only is it bad, we have that at home, and it's also really bad. And the reason why we have that at home is because you literally can just take a Staff of Power.
No, I don't think we have this at home because it doesn't actually do the same thing. It's just shit.
Yeah, it does the same thing. It stops you from losing
Not even
will.
technically. It's not even technically
worse.
armor either. It's a special rule. It doesn't even give +1 defense. That's the funny thing about it. Anyway, so this is in my opinion, this is our first. We have this at home, which is Barristan Tool, Dane's big red axe,
Masterforge 2-handed axe.
Masterforge hand and a half axe. I think.
Oh, sorry, hand and a half axe. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We'll come back to what that's worse than in a second. Bonebreaker. Ooh. This is a single-handed mace that denies your opponent the ability to use their. Yeah, John knows where it's going. Denies their ability to use their elven-made weapon roll-off, which isn't. If it was a master forged hand and a half mace, this would still be situational.
You know what else denies someone's elven-made weapon roll-off? You having an elven-made weapon.
Yeah, exactly. This is the kind of thing that's in there for completeness and not because it's any good. We'll see that a bit more later with Peregrine and whatnot. Cool. Next up is the Circlet of Kings.
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know, this gives the wielder the ability to cast 2 spells once per game each. They count as being cast as channeled on a 6. The first is...
No, you can choose to channel them, but they automatically are cast on a 6. Your opponent can choose to resist the Nature's Wrath spell, and the other spell is Aura of Dismay.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what it does.
So terror within 6 inches on Aura of Dismay, and Nature's Wrath is a 3-inch knockdown.
Yeah. So not too bad. I think the thing with this is you probably get higher value with other things. I think it's okay. I think it's situational.
Yeah, I think it's situational, but it's high situational, so above Agos, because
so
causing terror on everything in a list which doesn't necessarily have access to, say, Black Numenorians or something similar is quite useful.
Yeah.
However, at this points level, we're going to see high courage troops. We're going to see things that negate
or like
terror.
Fury and stuff. I was sort of wondering because the interesting thing about this is you can channel it if you have a hero, because Thranduil himself does not have heroic channel, so normally it's not possible. But if you put this on like a shaman or like a Wargear, for example, you could have channeled Aura of Dismay and your Eastlings or something if you wanted, which would be interesting, or probably not worth doing because again you're losing out on something actually really good. But there you go.
Yeah.
What we got next?
Sorry, that is the Crown of Kings, which is Durin's crown.
Yes.
Apologies for some of the pictures. I had to be quite liberal with what they are.
That's a 6-up Fury save.
6-up Fury save for that single hero. Put that straight in the meme tier bin, please. No further discussion needed, Your Honor.
It's not meme tier. It's just not worth taking.
Well, why would you take it?
I guess that is meme tier. I think that's better than everything. I think that's better than all the other ones in meme tier.
Oh yeah, but it's still in meme tier. It's not situational.
You could put it on Sauron for an extra save.
Wow.
Or you could just give him the Arkenstone.
Well, Arkenstone doesn't work on Sauron because he doesn't take fate saves.
That's no fun.
Although I don't know if this. Hang on, I'm going to have to read how that works by combining it with the Arkenstone. Would that create a 3+ crown save for epic savory? I don't think it does. So I'm not going to bother looking that up. Then this is Durin's Axe, which is the reason why Barristan Tool is in. We have that at home. Now this is a Masterforge 200 axe, but it gives you you can re-roll one of your dice to win the duel, which I think immediately puts this in pretty hot. Because
I think it's now you're cooking because it offers a unique effect.
Okay, so this gives you the ability to piercing strike. Nice.
You
But it is
stick
two-handed, which means you can't combine it with a shield at any
stick
point.
it on Thorin King Under the Mountain though, and you've got an additional dice to win the fight. You've got the +1 to wound. You can piercing strike to strength 5.
Okay.
He's bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, but I mean, like any like I don't think it's better than Anduril on King of the Mountain.
The banner effect is really, really nice, but I suppose the lack of Elven Blade.
I mean, I said it's. I think this is the same amount of good as Anduril, personally.
That's bad. I'll put it then just below or just above Anduril. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Anduril specifically is really good on Thorin. This potentially is more useful on various other heroes, but as we'll come to, there's potentially an even better option.
I was going to say this thing is getting sunned by the beast.
What is that we've got next?
That is the Horn of Zirak Zagil.
Yeah. So I'm just going to throw this in the meme tier. Although, okay, bottom of situational, because the Warhorn is not trash. This one makes you cause terror. Certain armies can benefit from this. I can't really see it personally, but it's not 100% garbage.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as... I'm just looking at Durin's Crown. I really think Durin's Crown should be the bottom of situational as well.
What, for potentially half an additional... I suppose it potentially gives you an additional wound if you've got 3 fate. And yeah.
Yeah. Also, that's just Durin's Crown is just every single wound you take.
Yeah.
You know.
Is it before? It's before
anyway.
It's before fate anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Bottom of situational.
Dwarven Rings.
Ring of Durin specifically.
Ring of Durin. Why does Durin have 4 pieces of unique Wargear, by the way? What the hell? Who let this guy tool up?
Make him 190 points, I reckon.
The Ring of Durin lets you reroll priority once per game. It is not worth taking at all. It is meme tier, in my opinion. And I don't think any of you are going to disagree with me on that.
Nope.
Not a bad effect. Not worth taking in this context.
The Elven Rings.
Yeah, I've lumped them all in together because...
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You might as well.
So this could be quite nice on in combination with the Arkenstone if you want to make a really, 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 really tough leader, just for banter. I don't...
The feeling with the Elven Rings is there are better options to make your hero tanky. The Arkenstone Elven Ring combo only makes sense to me if you already have an Elven Ring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is situational.
Like, if you're talking Gandalf, if you're talking Galadriel, if you're talking Elrond, the Arkenstone is kind of cool and interesting. If you're talking making someone reroll their fate, I don't think it's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it certainly isn't worth taking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Turning your heroes into freak beasts versus making them a bit more survivable, I tend to opt to the freak beast option, which is why I think the Arkenstone is kind of unique.
No, it's not. They're not meme tier. They're situational because they give you 1.5.
There's
1.5 additional fate on a
stuff, I think, but higher than the Horn as well. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. This next option is the Emperor's Glaive. So it's a Elven made spear that also lets you shield. So it's comparable to Aeglos, but being able to shield is worse than a +1 to wound.
Yeah, I think this is close enough that I would be willing to say we have that at home. If it wasn't, I'd probably put it in meme tier just because it's not good enough.
Aeglos is just a better spear. Glamdring makes you fight fine.
Glamdring. So
we
this
have
is
that at home.
Half Elven made sword. No, it's not that. It's either probably meme tier because it's +1 strength. It's not +1 to wound.
Oh, okay, yes. Apologies.
Yeah, but when would you ever take Glamdring over?
You have you go to strength 5,
give the same effect,
and you get a +1 to wound potentially. This is why it's not the same as something that's going to come.
It's bad.
Yeah.
To take it, I don't think Glamdring is a bad weapon, but it's bad when you have other better options. Like when Anduril is on the table for the same cost, why would you take Glamdring? You know,
Bard's great bow.
Just any great bow.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Bard or Tyrion. Oh, sorry, Girion.
Now you're cooking.
Yeah, now you're cooking.
Or Grimbrion. Come on.
Or Grimbrion. Yeah, apologies.
Put this on Legolas. nobody's horse ever survives.
Yeah, it's the
Unless
one
you roll a
model.
1, 2,
The
or
one
3.
model where you can argue this would be acceptable is Legolas. Even then, I think you have better choices. I think it's highly situational, bottom of situational, top of meme tier territory.
I think this is worse than the fact that this is only good on 1.5 heroes.
Yeah,
Means that you just it's a 5-point upgrade on Bard. Yeah.
yeah.
If
On
somebody takes it, we're assuming they're doing it for the memes, right?
Well, the source
there's another one on this list as well.
The source from the Will's Champions Discord is that Will is recommending the Great Bow on Legolas. So we'll see how that works out.
That's cringe. Don't do that.
It's a bold strategy, Con.
Let's see if it pays off.
Garbage. Okay.
Elrond?
Speaking of garbage,
Hadafang! It's a worse version of a bunch of other things on the list.
Yeah.
We have this at home. It's an Elven-made weapon.
Situational. Yeah.
Which, well,
it gives +1 against spirits, which is
it
compared to Aglos, which is technically a one-handed weapon as well. It's like, cool. Where's the benefit?
Okay, the only thing I would say, in the very situational point where you want to go +2 to wound by two-handing, it's arguably meme tier because you can get +2 to wound against things like Sauron, Ringwraiths, etc.
Yeah.
So I think it's
That's
meme
true.
tier.
I think it's similar to Glamdring levels meme tier.
Yeah.
Is this Crown of Morgul?
That is not. That is the Dragon Emperor's crown.
The magic hat that gives resistance to magic.
Yeah.
If this also counted as a +1 armor, this would be kind of interesting, I think. As it stands, this is definitely situational at absolute best.
Yeah.
Resistance to magic is decent as an effect.
It's
I
better.
think this is probably worse than Durin's items, but yeah, it's like again, the problem with this is a lot of these are going to be not worth taking specifically because they are in the company of actually really strong effects. You know?
Yeah. The ones where you could see it taken is on real centerpiece models like Thranduil or Bard, who both are low defense and therefore have better options to take.
But also they suffer from being compelled specifically, though.
Yeah.
Cool. Next up, we have Herogrim, third and sword.
This is.
We have Herogrim at home.
I mean, Herogrim has to be the bottom of meme tier.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't give any bonuses. So how can you compare it to anything else? It's the first sword in the game. It was the first weapon that had a special rule that was described when the edition was releasing, and people who knew what they were talking about immediately knew that this was garbage.
Yeah.
Before the edition even released in like 2018 when they were teasing it, and it's a consistent joke. I think it's a sword that can feint when you have lower fight value. It's like he's D7, you know. Yeah. Why is he afraid of stabbing anyway? Doesn't matter.
I think arguably we could argue it's in we have that at home tier, but it's not strictly similar to something better than it.
It's just sword.
It's just sword with the tiniest bonus.
I mean, that is the definition, though, right? Compare it to any other sword, you'd be pretty disappointed.
John, you've muted yourself.
Yes, I agree with everything that was said. I didn't say anything witty.
That's okay.
You just got bleeped.
We're real professional tonight.
Next up, we got the Horn of Gondor. Now, this is interesting because it's not a war horn. It's like a weird buffy trinket thing. I'll be honest. You wouldn't take this because the other buffs are just better, but it is actually quite good. So for my money, I think I'd put this in situational, sort of around the Aglos level, just because.
I think there is an argument. There's an argument to take the other things in that tier. There is not an argument to take Horn of Gondor at 1,000 points. Not at all. With courage, what it is.
It's the same. It's the same benefit. It's buffing a single hero in a way that's sort of kind of mostly. I'll let you put it at the bottom, but I think it's better than mean tier.
My issue with it is that at 1,000 points, nothing is going to be low enough courage to the point where you're consistently going to get the effect off.
I don't think that's true, but fair enough. This is Horn of the Hammerhand,
which is the horn that the Hammerhand has.
Yes. So this is strictly, we have that at home because it is a worse version of Durin's Horn, because it gives you terror, but only when you charge, and it's the same otherwise. So it's just the same but worse. Now, is that the Horn of the Hammerhand?
No, that's Horn of the Riddermark.
Okay, Horn of the Riddermark is a item. It's not actually a war horn because it stacks with war horns, that gives all hobbits +1 courage. This does not affect other things, so it goes in meme tier because no one's using it.
There was another rule that is quite pertinent here, which is that there was a maximum number of models of 100. So if you are taking Merry, that version of Merry, where he has the horn, you have a maximum number of models of 100, and you are pure Shire. So good luck.
Yeah, that's the definition of meme tier.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Is that Murin or is that Dra?
That's Dra. Why is Dra there, MB?
That's Kalazal.
No. Murin has Kalazal.
No, Torazal's the sword.
Wait, what's Kalazal then?
Kalazal's the bow.
What? Is it?
Let's move on.
It's meme tier.
It's meme tier. If it was good, we know what it is.
It's not quite.
Kalazal's the sword.
No, don't.
Why is Dra there?
Right. We'll go to the book and we'll have a little chat.
I'm in the book right now.
Right. While they're in the book, I'm going to talk about the Light of Aerendil, which
Wait, hang on a second. You're absolutely right. I've done this. I've completely biffed this. I've assumed that Torazal and Kalazal are the same thing. That we will count as Torazal, which is Mardin's foe spear.
Oh, you freak!
I know. I absolutely biffed this.
Torazal. Okay. Torazal is a foe spear that gives you an additional +1 to wound against monster models. So foe spears, if you don't know, get +1 to wound against trolls when they support an iron shield.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I have a lot more sympathy for the Golems gamers right now because it's impossible to do a tier list without devolving into anarchy.
Okay, so Mardin's that spear gets +1 to wound against monsters and does D3 wounds against trolls, which is shit because you can a +1 wound weapon.
So it's just we have this at home versus Aegilos, right?
No, because it does D3 wounds versus trolls. It's a different effect. It's just above Herogrim, just below Bonebreaker.
Yeah.
It's a meme weapon.
Elliot's gonna hate you for this because you put the wrong dwarf in there.
Right. The Light of Aerendil, a 6-inch bubble of 6 to hit. It was shooting.
This is now you're cooking.
Blinding light. Yeah. So this allows for a lot of arguably it is still situational, but it's the really exciting kind of situational that could solve one of the big problems of several lists. So for example, Angmar is one of its big weaknesses, particularly for models like Gullivar at high points, is shooting. And if you can just say, right, essentially going to have Angmar, but I'm also going to have Blinding Light up the whole time, it's like, oh, that's a nice solution.
Really strong.
I think Jakob Krokmal showed us at City of Kings how strong Angmar can be with Blinding Light, albeit I think he only played against 2 shooting this.
It just solves a big problem. If you're going to play like Shade Angmar, this is a great problem solver to have.
Yeah.
Because the main thing I think that makes this better than anything in Pretty Hot right now is this is an army buff. It's not a model buff.
Yes,
and I think this is one of the first. Like obviously, Warhorns and the crown of Thranduil's crown, arguably are also army buffs, but this is the first one that can actually fully solve a problem that an army has, which is immediately interesting and exciting.
Because there's certain things that gatekeep or cause the rock paper scissors style combat triangle, and shooting into lists like Angmar is one of the things that really does it in.
Exactly.
Now, this just says, "Oh, Angmar, it's got that weakness." Nope, no, it doesn't.
Well, it doesn't have as much of it.
Yeah,
it's still only a 6-inch bubble in it at 1,000.
Yeah, that's not going to be all your stuff, but you can get the important stuff.
Very important stuff safe, namely Gulliver, who does not like getting shot.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, next up, Mirror of Galadriel.
This is situational.
The thing is, it's situational because it allows you to do. You can sort of do the bird bath thing with other models.
If it was good, then it would be taken more in Lothlorien naturally.
What models could you even do that with though? Because you can't do the carrying it around thing on a monster that isn't that is a cavalry. So Felbeasts and Radagast can't do this, and all the other monsters that aren't Wargear don't really have fate, like Spider Queen, Shelob, Gulliver. They don't have fate points. So yeah, I don't know. Really, this needs to be
dragon
fate. A dragon. Actually, a dragon is probably the only model
with tough hide.
This is a serious buff too. Well, maybe. Dragons are. There's a lot of fun combos you can do with these with dragons. The problem then is you're playing pure Moria at 1000, which is not great. I wrote a funny list that had 2 dragons and a load of white marauders.
Right. Next up, we have the Mithril Coat.
Yeah.
Still got a few more to get to, so we'll try and speed up for you.
So I think this is either pretty hot or cooking.
Yeah, I'm happy to put this in low. Now you're cooking, or pretty hot. Put it pretty hot.
I think pretty hot makes sense because this is a similar thing to the Arkenstone, where it's you make a hero tanky. So this gives you +3 defense, but importantly, it doesn't count as armor, which means it stacks with everything. So, for example, the Armor of Gondolin is +2 defense, but only if you don't have armor already. Whereas this, you can whack it on Gulliver, make him D8, and suddenly his defense is like, oh, that's a strong point. That's what you were saying about Armor of Gondolin on Gulliver, and this you can make him D10 if you want to be a mean person. I think it's really nice to have this option. I think this would go really well on a hero like Elrond. Put him up to D10, make him really hard to handle. I think probably bottom end are pretty hot, top end are situational, because while it does give you access to some crazy combos, I think offensive is better than defensive in this.
A good defense is the best offense.
Unless this allows you to, like I said, with the File of Erendil, lets you cover your army with some sort of defense. It's 2-1 target.
An important thing is there's going to be a lot of +1 to wound flying about on Master Force weapons, and as soon as you spend a point of might, even if you need 6s by 6s, after a point of might, that suddenly becomes 4s by 4s, which is it's not easy, but it's not unreasonable if you're trapped and the hero's getting a whole bunch of attacks.
If I'm honest,
5s by 5s.
I kind of think this should maybe be below the crown, Thranduil's crown. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think making people making them more tanky is less useful.
Better. Yeah, because the Arkenstone allows them to theoretically tank forever, which is not super likely, but Arkenstone gives you theoretically infinitely tanky hero, unique. Whereas this is just +3 defense, and if you're going to be rendered or something, it's like, who cares? Ooh, is that a meme I see?
It is. That is a meme tier thing.
It's Groblog's Mithril Crown, which
now you could, of course,
gives goblins, Moria goblins, +1 fight value within 3 inches. And that doesn't affect other things. Even if it affected other models, the fact that it's a 50-50, this would still be, at best, bottom of situational. Because it's only Moria goblins, and Moria already has access to Groblog. It's just, there's no play there. This is probably the worst item.
Groblog is already... No, Herogrim is worse than this.
No, it isn't. Taking Herogrim as one of your 2 given items is still a better choice than taking the Mithril Crown. That is facts.
Yeah,
no, because it means you don't have to take
give her a weapon.
Yeah, but Groblog is good. Groblog is one of the better heroes in Moria. Not choosing to not take Groblog is making Moria worse.
True.
Anyway.
Morgul Blade.
I'll take Groblog. I'll take a worse hero instead for 10 points cheaper.
Morgul Blade is situational.
It's situational. I don't think it's probably meme tier, if I'm honest, because people don't take this on one of the best heroes in the game Having access to it on a different hero who may or may not also have bonuses to wound is, well, that's actually, you wouldn't get them if you're using the Morgul Blade.
Yeah.
Anyone who's
It's
taking
a
Morgul
slightly
Blade
different
is memeing.
prospect. It's not good. It's a 10-point upgrade. It's like the Great Bow. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Oh boy, we've come onto the big boy.
Now,
Maybe
now
the
this-
best, if not the second best.
So here we have Narsil, which is not Elven Made, which is literally the only thing against it. Master Forged, hand and a half sword that lets you declare a free heroic combat. This is just obviously the best item by far, because free heroics are completely broken, and this is also a +1 sword, +1 to wound. Literally, the only thing you can say against it is you don't get the benefit from using a shield while you're going two-handed with it. But it's Master Forge, so no -1. It gives free heroic combats and +1 to wound is literally everything you could ever want.
Yeah, chuck this on your
I fully expect everyone to take this. That's how good it is. Every single person who has the option of picking this should be taking Narsil, in my opinion.
If you have any sort of beatery hero, if you've got a dragon, if you've got a fucking Gulliver, if you've got Elrond, if you've got an eagle, if you've got Radagast on eagle, if you've got literally anything that's maneuverable, even non-maneuverable things, if you've got a foot hero suddenly running around with +1 to wound and free combat, it's so good.
So, the other thing with this is I've spoken to the TOs about this ahead of time, and they confirmed that you don't actually have to be fighting with Narsil to get the +1 to get the free heroic combats. So, for example, if you took Narsil on King Elisar, you can run around smashing with Anduril whilst also getting free heroic combats.
And also, you get the hilarity because he's got two of the same sword.
Yeah, he's dual wielding lightsabers. There you go.
Yeah.
So Narsil is, if there was another tier, like an S++ tier, that this is that. Narsil is unbelievable. Like, the only reason I wouldn't take this is if A, I was taking Legendary Legion, which is potentially a bad idea anyway, but also if you wanted to, fair enough. And B, if I was running a list that had literally 0 combat heroes.
Yeah.
Like, if you're running all basic ring wraiths, I probably wouldn't take Narsil.
Yeah. Noldorin daggers, brackets Noldorin throwing daggers from Aristor's profile.
I think these have snuck under the radar a little bit in terms of being actually kind of situationally pretty good.
Yeah, they're situationally.
Like, they improve the grind, and the thing is, they're not flashy. I think they're probably top tier situational, personally, because rerolls to wound is actually better than +1 in a lot of situations mathematically. If you already have decent strength, like strength 4 and a mount, these are actually going to up your reliability a lot on a big hero. What I would say is, so for example, like someone, I mean, we keep coming back to him because he's one of the only heroes in the game that has free heroic combat built in, which is Thorin. But Thorin would do well with these. Also,
he'd also get throwing
daggers. It's not much because it's literally going to be once per turn, and that's not really that exciting.
But you get a reroll on it as well. You get to reroll the.
Yeah, that's not really like. It's just. I think again, the rerolls to wound is not flashy, but it's good. I think this might even be bottom of pretty hot, if I'm honest.
Oh, wow.
Do you think this is better on Thorin than Andrew?
Andrew probably not.
No, it's the
The thing is, I think people are underestimating how good they are, but they are probably also top of situational. Let's be fair. I think they're again they're 2-1 hero-y, but also like so are a lot of these.
Talking of one hero-y, the
Oaken Shield, Jinx.
It's not we have this at home, but it's worse than another shield that is coming up. It's meme tier, in my opinion.
It's a shield that allows you to shield and do one strike at your natural strength. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things that could benefit from a shield who don't already have access to one, but there aren't that many, so the shields aren't going to be very good. And as you say, there is a shield that has a better effect for those heroes in this list. So
I've solved it. You give it to the Watcher, and then she gets 12 dice to win the fight.
and then 1 strike. Massive. To be fair, putting it on monsters is quite funny because monsters can't normally have shields.
Isengard Troll, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
The One Ring.
So this is the One Ring as written. It is not the Turbo Bilbo version, but it's still S tier, if I'm honest. Especially given that 1,000 points heroes have all the power, being able to throw a ring bearer in your list is good. What I would say is that it is a big problem solver, and it lets you basically have a Isildur in any list. It does also arguably, well, I don't know. I think this probably won't be that popular. I actually think the ring is amazing, and you should always take you should always take it if you have the option in your army list. I think this is more of a choice, but it does add a whole new dimension to your army if you don't have this. For example, Lothlorien having the ring on someone like Celeborn suddenly just have so much more play. You know, they have so much more.
Yeah, it gives them a dimension they don't already have.
Now, this is quite interesting because I'm looking at World Champions list at the same time because, yes, I'm subscribed to his Patreon because that's how you get good as a gamer. And he's put it in Red Herring tier, the One Ring.
Yeah, so I see that. I think the effect it has is powerful enough that you don't want to ignore that.
I think his logic, and I'm not reading verbatim from the article because pay your £5 a month to get it, is that there's going to be so many raids around. And also, if you put it on any hero that's super valuable, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of that hero going AWOL for a turn or 2.
Yeah, but you got to remember that even armies that have wraiths in them have good targets for the One Ring. Particularly someone like Gulliver gets his pants pulled down by the ring really easily, and that's not something you want to forget.
If he's wearing pants, maybe you don't take armor on him.
Yeah, I think the One Ring is unique. I don't think loads of people will take it, but I think it's always a good choice.
Yeah,
I think if we're talking about tooling up heroes, like, the main downside to the ring is going to be the fact that you can't take 2 things on this list, which is not a downside on the ring, in my opinion. It just, you might not always have a good target for it, which I guess maybe pushes it down to Pretty Hot. But I think it's the best thing in Pretty Hot that we've got there.
Okay. Moving on to Orcrist. Yep. I think this is high situational. If not mid.
I think this is pretty mid, to be honest. It's an elven-made sword with no +1 to wounds.
Yeah.
And it's hand-and-a-half sword, sorry. And it gives you terror and bane against orcs, goblins, and urukai, who, I mean, frankly, they're common troops, but they're not top-tier troops. So you're not going to see loads of them at this level, I don't think. You might see urukai from Saruman and Isengard, for example.
Is it not trolls as well?
No.
No, okay.
Just orcs, goblins, and urukai.
I'm misremembering.
The terror is the nicest thing about this, but for my money, I don't think it's that good. I think Orcrist is at best bottom of situational, probably meme tier, but I could be wrong.
So I think another way of you can arguably look at things is how many points they cost. We know something like
a 10-point upgrade.
Yeah, Orcrist is 10 points. Armor of Gondolin is 15. Doesn't necessarily mean that Armor of Gondolin is better, but comparing to something like that's a lot more expensive.
Well, Andrew was
25. Yeah.
Or Narsil is. I mean, if you put points value on it, it must be 50 points.
Yeah.
For a weapon like that.
Right. Next up, we've got something from the King of the Dead.
Meme tier.
Yeah, this is
moving on.
It gives resistance to magic to Army of the Dead. Just take a fucking
spirits in 3. Yeah,
within 3.
You may notice that is just shit. Anyway,
right. Why have we got Sharky on this list?
Sharky's riding dagger.
Straight to the top.
Yep. Now you're cooking.
Yeah, so if you take this, you're the bravest motherfucker. So Sharky's riding dagger does a strength 4 hit every time he is failed to be wounded by a hero. So clearly the method is you whack this on a D10 hero with you because you put your mithril coat on them. So you say Elrond, you take Elrond, you put the mithril coat on him, you give him the riding dagger, and every time an enemy hero whiffs, they take a strength 4 hit, which is complete trash. frankly. If it was every time a model failed to wound, that would actually be really interesting, because then you actually could do that. You could whack it on like Sauron and say like, all right, have a go. It's
Also,
pretty funny to think that Sauron has the riding
they have
dagger.
to be in,
like
they have to be in base to
bounce
base,
off you.
which is even worse.
Yeah, the fact that it's heroes is what makes this shit.
Yeah,
like it's mean to even on the guy whose dagger it is. You know, it's like putting this on a much tougher hero makes it much more appealing, except for the fact that it only works on enemy heroes, which is just shitty. Like I said, if it was regular troops, you could then throw them into a pile of enemy troops. Even if you lost the fight, you'd be like, well, look at that.
All right, next up we have the Shield of Cirith Ungol. So this is a shield, so providing that defense bonus. And when an infantry model charges wielding the shield, they will knock to the ground like cavalry. So if they're charging other infantry, it will knock them over.
Before the addition of Asphaleth, pardon me, and Shadowfax, I would say this is high, pretty hot. I'd say it's now a bit lower down.
I wouldn't put it as high as that. I think this is definitely situational, because the only real models that benefit heavily from this are going to be models that can't get mounts. But even then, so for example, you can say, oh, Celeborn could get this instead of taking a shield, but then you're like, but is that?
But then you're taking Celeborn.
Things?
Yeah.
Celeborn is playable at 1,000 points, especially if you have to play pure lists. I think Celeborn's all right.
Celeborn can now take Shadowfax, though.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'd take Asphaleth, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get the fleet foot.
And
Shadowfax has a fate point.
And you've got resistant to magic anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What's this?
Yeah.
Smoke bombs.
I put it higher up in situation on that. I'd put it sort of above A gloss probably, but below the mithril coat.
Smoke bombs.
Yeah. So these are throwing weapons, strength 1. If you fail to wound with these, your target you have to hit first, obviously. Your target is affected by the channeled version of Transfix. However, they can simply spend. They don't have to roll. They just spend a will point and it resists it. Now, this is kind of interesting when you combine it with, because the problem is this comes in Umbar, which does not have. It has the Knight of Umbar. It doesn't really have obvious magic synergies, and you have to also have Dalamir, so it's like there's a lot of investment to make a middling combo go off. It's good against unhero monsters, which are already bad, so it's like cool, not great. And it's good for removing will from models that are already taking will. So the thing with this is it's actually decent, but it's going to be power crept by basically everything. So yeah, situational at best. But I like it as an idea. You could combine it with like a triple rate model list or something.
Or you have a dragon that goes in, and the fluff of it is that he's breathing smoke on them.
Mm-hmm.
He's fight 8 anyway, so you don't need to. But
dragons aren't fight 8.
Next up, we have.
I wish they were.
The Staffs of Power.
Importantly, you can take 2. There are 2 styles of power on the list. I've just put them both in the same one because these are fucking cooking.
Like with the Elven Rings. Now, these are probably the bottom end of cooking because, as you might have figured out already, you can take a Staff of Power on a Ring Wraith, which is cool. Because Ring Wraiths, the main thing that holds them back is their fact that they run out of juice eventually. So now imagine this on a Witch King on Fellbeast. You're free to play. You're free to, be a combat hero for as long as you want. You're free. You can one dice things for free without having to waste your precious resources. It's really good. I mean, admittedly, this is almost just a Ring Wraith upgrade. There are a couple of other models that can make this work, like Wargear or Celeborn was something we talked about, because Celeborn can say, "Oh, I can actually use my magic," which is cool. Or you can throw it if you really wanted. You could throw this on like Galadriel for double free spells.
And it would make her not unarmed.
And it would make her not unarmed. So combine that with the crown, and
should be good in Contest of Champions. Oh wait.
Yeah, I think Staff of Power is a really interesting one. The free will point a turn is
Did you
really
not put
good.
the Witch King's crown on this, Denby?
Oh, we've missed
I don't
one.
think you did, because it doesn't appear to be in there. Because that's another one. I think they are. I think they're S tier because they allow for. They basically power up the ring rates by so much. Obviously, that is technically situational, but I think ring rates with Staff of Power is going to be a whole thing.
A whole chunk of the meta pie.
Right. Let's very quickly do the Crown of Morgul, which I definitely actually put into it, but I had some images which were deleted by Tier Maker, and therefore it hasn't appeared, because I remember which picture I used, because it had to be a very tall one. Yeah, it was that Pinterest one on the right, but it might be too tall. Yeah, that one's fine. Crown of Morgul. Morgul? Yeah.
This is, I think this is S tier myself. Rerolls to cast and 3 attacks means that it has some pretty amusing potential. If you want to throw that on Galadriel, for example, that's just interesting. It's immediately great on any. You can put this on. I checked, and you can put this on Saruman and get double rerolls if you want, which is fun. You can put this on any of the wizards to immediately make them into semi-combat heroes. For example, Radagast and Gandalf going up to 3 attacks at fight 5. I mean, Gandalf in particular has Glamdring, so he's strength 5. He'll cut through dwarves pretty good with that setup, and to get the rerolls to cast. As with the Staff of Power, I think it's probably slightly worse than the Staff. No, it's the same. It's the same as the Staff of Power tier. It's S tier because magic is S tier, and because it just powers its multiple buffs in one item.
Yeah, it's a best in class kind of caster buff, isn't it?
The real source here is putting it on something like Shelob or the Necromancer, who suddenly become 3 attack beasts.
Yeah. I actually think the Necromancer, low-key, the crown is really good on him.
Yeah.
I think that army is going to be great at this points level, but still.
The issue with Shelob is then that you don't get the Witch King, which is obviously an issue.
The other thing is, you can't
have duplicates
of the same item. So if you had the Witch King of Angmar, you couldn't then have your Shadow Lord with a crown as well. It would only you'd lose the crown on the Witch King.
Sting is immediately we have this at home because it's worse than Glamdring and identical in every way.
Yeah, it has to have
Oh, actually, do they both give +1 strength?
+1 strength, and it's a dagger versus a hand and half sword, so it doesn't even act to a different special strikes. So Stone Flail. Now, this is a 2-handed flail, not hand and half or Master Forge or anything. So 2-handed flail that makes your fight value 6. I've checked this, and it says reduced because it's for Azog, but in this, it's allowing you to increase to 6 as well, which is interesting, and it lets you whirl at fight 6 as well. And anyone who is wounded but not killed, so hit but not killed, is knocked prone, and it does D3 wounds. So this is actually a really strong weapon. The problem is it's a 2-handed weapon, so there aren't that many actually good targets for this, because for this to actually be good, you need to be no higher than fight 6, ideally lower than fight 6, but also burly and without better options. So if you're already fight 6, you'd just say, well, I'll have Narsil, please. But if you're lower than fight 6, and I've looked at this, and I think there's only a couple of actually good options there. One of which is the Golden King, who is fight 4, but has 4 attacks and is burly. So you could just absolutely clobber. The problem there is that the Golden King already has +1 to wound built in, so it's a little bit middling there. But fight 6 for him is really nice. Or you can be hilarious and put a crown on someone and just turn someone into an absolute beast with +3 attacks, because the problem is it's a 2-handed weapon, so it's not. And most of the other burly fighters are already fight 6, so it's not so good. Goroth is also burly and under fight 6, but if you're buffing up Goroth with this, I don't know why. You're probably better off using that on a different hero.
So do we think it's as high as situational? Or?
I think I'd go so far as to call it situational, because I can think of at least one actually good usage where I might consider taking it, like genuinely consider taking it, not just for a meme.
Yeah, fair. Our next one
is Erkenbrand's Horn, which of course is the horn
of the Hammer Hand, which is confusing. So this is a horn that provides +2 courage, but only works on Rohan heroes. Now this, unfortunately, is probably meme tier, just because I can't see anyone really using Rohan. And if you are using Rohan, you're going to be doing funny stuff with your heroes, buffing them up.
Yeah.
Riders of Theoden would like this, but Riders of Theoden wouldn't get it anyway. And Rohan, I mean, all mounted Rohan, you're probably better off running Riders of Theoden even without the extra items, just because death is that good, especially at high points. But I don't see that anyone's going to use that probably, other than people who want to just recreate a scene from the movies, which I think is cool. I think that's a cool idea.
I might be busting out my 6 captains for that one.
6? What?
Well,
Well, not 10 captains.
I know. Well, why not 17 captains, which is how many you can fit in the list. Oh,
Yeah.
Moving on to, of course, Kalazal. Kalazal?
Yep. So I'd be tempted to call this. We have this at home just because it is +1 to wound against orcs, goblins, and Uruk-hai, and that's it.
Yeah, it is just worse. Anything else that's two-handed, because it's situational two-handed.
Well,
Sorry, situational +1 rather.
Yeah, and it's a sword. So I mean, technically not, but I think it's close enough that I'm.
Well,
happy to end there.
it's worse than Narsil. It's worse than it's Narsil but worse. It's also Aglos but worse. But you can faint like
Yeah, it's just a worse combat weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Heragrim is up there, but still, I will not be changed on that one. Okay, so that is the Trident Spear, which is the Forsaken special weapon. The Forsaken is the Nazgul Dol with the spear, and it is a spear that lets you reroll to wound. So it's essentially the same as the Noldorin throwing daggers. Though I would actually put it up there just because supporting and rerolling to wound while supporting is not worthless.
Yeah,
it's bugging me that you put them so far away from the daggers, but there you go.
It goes with the other spear.
Yeah, that's what's my thinking.
Warden's Sword is just a worse version of Narsil.
Yeah, Warden's Sword is just a worse version of Narsil basically. If you want a sword that 1.5 Master Forge sword, take Narsil, unless you're already taking Narsil. In which case,
take Anduril or Durin's Axe.
Yes. Cool. All right. Now we can do these two together because they're essentially the same, but there's very minor differences. So they're both 12-inch move horses, which, by the way, we've barely had any chance to think about how these would affect the game because we only talked about this right before we started recording. But they're good for any hero that is infantry. I think probably pretty hot. I think put them both up there because
I agree with that.
Like, ooh.
Ooh.
So, okay, for reference, the actual difference is Shadowfax is strength 4 and has a fate point and a will point. So a little bit of protection against Black Dart and a wound is also D5 as well. Whereas Asphalloth is move 12 and fleet foot, but doesn't have any other bonuses. So
I think Shadowfax is significantly better. D5, will, and a fate is a lot better.
I think Fleetfoot is uncommon enough to be actually really good.
Also, live rolls check. Actually, Shadowfax has 2 will points.
That's what I said. Yes.
You said 1 will and 1 fate.
No, I said it has a fate point, and then I said it has will points. I did not say any specific amount of will points.
Comment below if you're still listening what Dave said.
Yeah, I think they're both in the pretty hot tier. You can suddenly do things like give Grimbold the horse. Well, hey, if Harry Parkhill is going and doesn't do that, I don't think he'll be going because he's got a kid on the way, like literally a month beforehand. That seems like a very Harry Parkhill thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, Grimbold the horse is lit. They did say you have to convert them though, so I'd really like to just get like a Glorfindel, cut his head off, and give him like Gorbag's head or something.
Yeah, get the beautiful Forge World resin Glorfindel model, and then just for this one tournament, cut that model's head off and give it to like I don't know, Gothmog's Enforcer
or Durin surfing a horse.
Yeah,
Durin is actually one of the models that gets a lot of benefit from getting a horse.
Yeah.
Durin on Shadow.
Right. That is our factually correct, unarguable tier list of the items that you can bring to the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. Don't forget, we are doing a giveaway. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and write. What did I say you have to write?
I can go to Unnumbered Tears.
Yeah, write that.
It's like
Let's
I
look
can
at-
go to the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at how we would all put these lists into practice, put these items into practice. So first up, we have myself. We've got my Erebor reclaimed list. Have taken Thorin Oakenshield, King Under the Mountain on Goat as my leader, 8 Iron Hills Dwarfs, 8 Dwarfs with Spear, 1 Dwarf with Banner and Spear, and 1 Goat Rider. Then I have Dane Ironfoot, Lord of the Iron Hills on Wargear, 7 Iron Hills Dwarfs, 7 Dwarfs with Spear and a Goat Rider, and then Dwalin, Champion of Erebor on Wargoat, 5 Iron Hills Dwarfs, 5 Iron Hills Dwarfs with Crossbow and Spear, and 2 Goat Riders. The weapons that I would take on these guys are Anduril on Thorin and Narsil on Dane Ironfoot. So wasting that +1 to wound, but giving Dane 3 heroic combats. What do we think of this one, team?
The only question there is whether you give it to Dane or Dwalin, because their
I think you
damage
give
output
it to
is the
Dwalin.
same. The only thing I would say about that is Dwalin, their damage output is the same regardless. Dwalin is a bit more of a he's a little bit easier to kill. I think I'd give it to Dwalin as well, just because Dane has to charge. And heroic combats where you don't have to charge are actually a lot better.
Dane also, you can, if your opponent has Narsil, you could be calling 3 heroic combats anyway. Because, oh, you don't get Master of Battle in this list version. Ignore me, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. So the reason I say that is, oh, no Biffa.
Yeah, that is, I think you've got too many Goat Riders and not enough Biffa.
Biffa. Yeah, Biffa +2 free heroic combats is just nutty.
Yeah.
I expect to see a couple of people with basically this list with Biffa, 42 odd models. Yeah, I like it.
Do you think double lightsabers is the way to go?
Yes, I do. If you're running this list, I think that's the way. Because you're going to get bullied by magic anyway, but fuck it, we ball, you know?
Yeah, on the turns when you're not being bullied by magic, suddenly Thorin and Dwalin are both killing 4 of your opponent's models each.
Your lines are actually... Your line's actually really hard as well. Like, that's going to walk through almost everything in terms of battle line. Like, it's tough. I would say the reason I like the on Dwalin is it gives you the option, if they don't have any shooting, you can just be a knock park up at outrange, charging both, free combat, bounce back, just sit out of combat range and just bully them, whereas Dane can't do that because he has to charge.
Yeah.
And he's killed him.
Yeah.
One quick question, and this is more from my knowledge than anything else. Dane gives Fearless to Iron Hills Dwarves, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Within 12.
Yeah.
It's a really good rule.
I think this is, it's going to be this Elves, Mordor, maybe Minas Tirith is what we're likely to see.
As well.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the strongest pure lists without any magic trickery. In fact, I don't think anything else without magic comes really close to this. Maybe Thranduil's Halls, but I think just the absolute tank Fight 6 boys is going to be amazing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, let's look at our next contender. It is Stephen's all-hero White Council list. Run us through this, Stephen.
So this is a list where I was trying to take something all-hero because I think 1,000 points, it's one of those times where it can almost work. This is the list you are forced to take at 1,000 points. That isn't Champions of Erebor or Thorin's Company. Champions of Erebor would also be quite good. It's basically White Council with lots of magic. So Saruman the White on horse, Glorfindel with Asphaleth, no armor, Gandalf the Grey on horse, Celeborn with heavy armor, shield, made hand and a half sword, and Radagast with Sebastian and a staff of power dropped for a Great Eagle, and Galadriel. So you've got 6 models total. All bar 2 of the models are very quick. There's a couple of options in the freebies. I think the obvious one is giving Narsil to Radagast because he can then hop around, just combating all over the place at Fight 7. Disgusting. Yeah. There is an argument you could give it to Glorfindel, but I think it's far better on Radagast. And then in terms of the options for the other version, for the other thing, you could give Gandalf Crown of Morgul. So you've got 2 re-rolling Sorceress Blasters. It also puts them up to 3 attack, strength 5 with strike, which is quite cheeky. There is a meme part of me that's like, well, Radagast dropped his staff, but what if he gets it back again? I don't think Radagast needs his staff too much, having looked at his spells. I think 6 will is probably going to be
not
enough.
when you have this many casters.
Yeah. There is also, you could stick a Staff of Power on Celeborn to make him
or Shadowfax on Celeborn.
Yeah, or Shadowfax on Celeborn, and then just leave Lady of Light foot slogging.
Yeah. Could
Or-
Celeborn use Shadowfax's will to cast spells?
No,
No.
that would be
Right.
Azog using the
Deadly Union.
Deadly
Special
Union. Yeah.
Yes, no, you can't do that, and that is the reason why Black Dart works the way it does. By the way.
Yeah. This list just looks fun to me. It looks like you deploy in one warband, and it's a death ball. It'll struggle into 5/5. It looks at enemy rates and laughs, but yeah.
I think, honestly, yeah, actually, genuinely, if you mounted both of the foot heroes, this would actually be quite good, because you can just kite forever then.
Yeah.
Because the main problem this list actually has, obviously, you're missing out on a lot of potential power, but actually, you can just one die Sorcerer's Blast till the cows come home at that point, and then if you get an advantage, I do think Narsil on a flying monster is super correct though, which is kind of, I kind of have to respect that. So yeah, that would be hard. This would be a hard list to play effectively, but it would probably be pretty good.
I was trying to desperately squeeze Elrond in, but the points just don't work. I've really had to scrape with Glorfindel not taking the armor, for example. Although that's not required because it's 15 points. I'm 1,000 points on the nose with Radagast losing his staff, which costs 50, which is real expensive. But
well, I think the Great Eagle makes sense here.
Yeah.
See if you're going nuts.
Especially with
with him on horse.
With ignoring line of sight, if there's a big line of sight blocking bit of terrain, you can just
hide
jump over combat back.
Yeah, exactly.
Which could be fun.
Second, this list has a lot of annoying things you can do, like jumping on the end of a line, hurling a model, and then flying away. Like bye bye. Yeah. Anyway, we may see in my list that I thought her free heroic combating monsters was good as well.
Run us through your list, Dave.
So this is Easterlings. This starts out pretty normal. We've got a Dragon Emperor of Rune with some boys. And then we've got Kamul the Easterling with a Fell Beast. Now that's not normal. That's not an Eastern Legendary Legion. I've got Ritabi and I've got Brogear. So my thinking was 800 points, Easterlings with the three big boys are good. I think Kamul, specifically Kamul, can actually get a lot of benefit from these upgrades. And I've given him Narsil and the Crown of Morgul. So they're both on Kamul because Easterlings is just a strong battle line. And I figured Kamul gives a lot of X factor. I've got to run through it. So obviously, because I can't get free Black Dragons because it's not the Legion, I've sort of gone low Black Dragons. Only like a third of my army is Black Dragon Pikes. Then I've got roughly a third just Pikes, and then roughly a third with shields. So it should be a big old pike block, probably about 15 wide, roughly. I've got the Emperor, who makes them all fight 5 within 6 with the Black Dragons. I've got Ritabi for the Master of Battle, which hopefully should help with all these heroic combating heroes around. And so Kamul, with the Crown, he gets the extra attacks, which is less valuable on Fell Beast, but it does up his combat reliability an awful lot. And it does actually give access to using his special rule that lets him spend a will point to buff up his attacks strength, which you wouldn't use because he's on the Fell Beast, or fight value by...
I mean, he can get 5 attacks on the charge.
Exactly.
Yes.
Normally, the attacks isn't worth doing because you're on a Fell Beast and you got from 1 attacks to 2, but you already have 2 attacks on the Fell Beast. Whereas now you've got 3 from the Crown, you got up to 4. That also means with your free heroic combat, if you do get pinned down, you can say, right, I've got 4 attacks, I can get away. Obviously, you're not actually getting the big benefit from Narsil's +1 to wound because you already have strength 6, and you can't have both. You're essentially either hitting strength 4 +1 or you're hitting strength 6 with the Fell Beast. But I still think it's worth doing because Kamul gets will points back when he kills models, and with Furic combat, you should be able to reliably kill at least 2 models a turn, so you'll be able to go forever.
It's not models killed; it's wounds caused.
Well,
that's even better.
Yeah. So if you ever get a chance to hit a hero, even better. He's great because he's the only Fell Beast that can go to fight 6 naturally, apart from the Dark Marshal. And yeah, so you're not getting loads of casting value from the Crown, but even though Kamal's got bad casting and only 12 will, the fact that he can regain will at such a pace and also gets rerolls to cast means that if you need a compel to go off, you can definitely get it off. You can throw a few will at it with a reroll. Yeah, I think it's maybe over-investing in Kamal, but the general logic is this is an army list, a big block that does exactly what you expect, and then you can throw in the wow factor of Kamal and make him a real problem causer. And I think that could maybe be a really powerful list. I don't know if I'll use this because I don't own any of it apart from Kamal. But
if only you knew some with Easterlings you could play.
Like, I mean, this is a genuine consideration of mine. Like, I actually think this probably would be quite fun to play, so I might play it. Plus, also, I've been wanting to try Easterlings at some point anyway. So there you go. That's one of the list ideas I had. You don't want to know my necromancer idea. It's too big brain for this podcast.
So that is.
What you think my big brain idea is?
That brings us to the end of our show. We won't be going through the comments this week because the intern forgot to add them, and we've already gone on for quite a while. Yeah. So don't forget to check out 7th City Collectibles, trade in all your models, buy all your Lacana, get 20% extra store credit. And Stephen, do you want to see us out?
Yeah. Remember to comment, like, share, subscribe, support your Hobbit hobby. Go check out 7th City. Comment below if you want a ticket to Unnumbered Tears, or if you've got any cool list ideas for it. We might not review them next time, but we will definitely be in the comments to look at them afterwards. And be good people, and chitter chitter.
Chitter chitter.
Chitter chitter.
Chittery chitteringtons.